I think this is a great thing as a dictator, as a king, autocrat, is more free stuff. Welcome to If I Were King, the podcast where two friends somewhere on Earth talk about the New World Order and other things, including, but not limited to, the lizard people. So where'd you go dirt biking, man? That's dope.
We just go literally in the desert next to the high school that I went to, because I went to school in the middle of nowhere pretty much, so in the desert.
That sounds fun. So was it just you and your dad? Was that a father-son bonding moment?
With my brother too, yeah.
Okay, all right. He's less important, right?
Yeah.
Is your brother older, right? You're the older brother, right?
Yeah, 2 years.
So you are the baby.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's nice. That's good. That's some fun stuff. So, Paul, now that we're here, let's get into it. Do you want to open up?
Sure.
Or do you want me to open up?
Actually, I think I've done it a few times, so you go first, Norman.
Oh, okay. All right, we're gonna change it up. All right. Well, Paul, if I were king of the world, I would make it mandatory for people to pick up kitchen speak, also known as restaurant speak. Do you know what that means?
I kind of glanced at your notes, so yes, but why don't you
How dare you? You go over it and I'm gonna pretend like I don't know. Well, I mean,
I still
fine,
don't really.
Do you know? Okay? Well, before you looked at my notes, I'm gonna say by accident.
Yeah.
Did you know what that meant?
No idea.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, so for anyone who doesn't know what that means is it's saying things like behind or corner, hot. Things like that when you're working, and that's specifically, I'm thinking in the restaurant, a lot of things like crossing, under, over, things like that. So anybody who's been in a restaurant, or probably any environment where you're working in proximity with other people with dangerous things like hot, sharp things, a lot of people know about this. I'm sure tons of other jobs kind of do this. But anyways, so since you didn't know about this, that means you never had any jobs like that you've had to kind of had any lingo like that, or have you?
I worked at a Subway once for 2 months.
Oh well, you must have had some sort of kitchen speak there.
No, not really. It wasn't that busy in the back, or there was enough space you could walk around, and then nothing is hot at a Subway in the back, or a sharp.
Well, don't you have
so.
that? Don't you make the bread, and don't you have that high industrial oven thing?
That's in the front though, and then also.
Oh, okay. You didn't do the front. I didn't even know that you were.
No, I did both.
So this is news to me.
I was in the front and the back. At Subway, you have to do everything. There's no job where it's
that makes sense.
Do one thing, but.
Well, what was there anything unique about then? I guess was there any particular Subway kind of? I know it's a franchise mostly, but was there any corporate speak kind of thing You're a sandwich artist, right?
Oh yeah, sandwich artisan. Yeah, that's right.
Artisan. Okay.
Yeah, eat fresh. I mean, I don't know any more than that, to be honest.
No, that's really curious to me, because even in that kind of setting, you still have knives, you still have corners, like my Subway, my local Subway, it's I've been there enough times over the years, it's two hallways basically connect. It's like a U shape. So there's a main corner, and usually that's probably two people working at the same time. But I don't know. Yeah, that communication is still important. But that's interesting.
I think it's mostly because there's not enough there's usually only 2-3 people. During the absolute busiest time, there would be 4 people. But we're talking, they're all physically isolated, so you're never near each other. Or reaching behind somebody for something sharp, and it doesn't happen. I think that's.
So I have a question for you. did you ever have like work nightmares or stuff like that from Subway, like hearing the bills come in or something, or like customers walk in or something? Did you ever have that kind of stuff?
I left before that shit started, so
You left. You're like you sensed it coming. You're like,
yeah,
no.
I'm like, fuck this. Well, you know what happens actually?
Well, lucky you.
Subway is one of the worst franchises to work for in the sense that, like a McDonald's, there's bad turnover, yeah, but there's probably like 30 employees, 40 employees total, right? Whereas a Subway is like 10. So if 7 people quit in 2 days, there's only 3 people left. And that's how it was fucking constantly. There was never any employees. And I was like getting ready to do school and stuff, and I was like, I'm not going to be in this like on-call 24/7 environment where they're like, we need you here like now because nobody else works for us. Nah. So I quit. That's basically it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
So,
all right. Well, cool. I'm glad that you didn't get mentally, emotionally scarred from that experience. So that's good.
Yeah.
Unlike everybody else I know.
Yeah. For $9 an hour. Yeah. Fuck that shit.
Hey, $9 American. Not too shabby. Not too.
Hold on. Not too shabby quote.
Isn't your federal minimum wage 7 anyways? So I feel like you're like living the dream.
Horrible.
Part-time job.
Living the dream. Oh fuck, $9. So they're funny, dude, because like the first week they're like, we're gonna pay you whatever it is, I don't remember. It's like $8.75 or some shit. And they're like, if we like you, in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll give you a little raise. And the raise is you get to like $9.20 or $9.50 or some bullshit like that. But it's like, shit, why even give me the fucking raise, man? That's not a raise to $9.20 or whatever it is.
Yeah, here's your quarter raise. Stay with us.
Yeah.
That's funny. Subway stories, Paul. You don't have many Subway stories, but I'm happy you have Subway stories.
I do.
But yeah, I guess you can relate then to why I would like to implement this mandatory change of communication.
Yeah.
Like anyway, so like you said, you worked 2 months. I worked nearly a decade in restaurants. So I do the behind thing or corner thing every single time I'm going around a corner or I'm behind someone. It's in my head now. It used to be like out loud or under my breath, but I cannot stop saying it, whether it's internally or externally. I've just been so trained into doing it. Without fail, I always do it. This actually came up because this idea came up to me because this need for change came up to me because at my work right now we have this one corner specifically where it leads to like the main hallway and to the office, and it's like a really sharp corner, and it's like a blind corner. You can't see who's coming until the very last second, and people keep bumping into each other or startling someone when they like just speed around the corner kind of thing. Or like first thing in the morning you're like all sleepy and then someone says, oh hey, and you just you scare the shit out of them. So this, and I was like, okay, yeah, this office setting, nobody says this kind of thing, and I feel like that's why this needs to be mandatory and implemented across all social orders, worldwide, Paul.
Worldwide.
No matter the workplace. Yes. No matter where it's one for first of all, like it's pragmatic. It's easy to do, and it's like super useful. Like if you're just like out and about and someone's about to like someone's whatever, someone's in the office making lunch and you're just behind them grabbing your lunch from the table, and you just say, it's like, oh hey, behind, and they're like, oh cool, it's all good. They don't like do that thing where they turn around and then bump into you because they didn't know you were like being sneaky behind them, being real quiet, or going around that corner, for example, in the office. It's an easy thing to say corner, and you're like, no problem, no bumps, no scares. It's kind of like a work safety thing and a pragmatic thing,
Yeah.
It's important to get those little things around you, Like of course we have excuse me or something like that, but like people don't really say it, And I think in this day and age of everyone just kind of not wanting to talk to each other and like just they'd rather be on your phone kind of thing. I think this is more important than ever than we say these little things. Even like if it's on the bus, like behind, whatever, stuff like that. Like even in public, I've caught myself like suddenly being really close behind someone unintentionally, and being like just under my breath, behind.
Like,
but yeah, Paul, like what do you think about this change? I think it's a great pragmatic way, and it's I think the masses would of course resist it at first because people don't like change, but I think after a while it would just become second nature, and people would think it's the most common sense thing to do. I think it would bring honestly, I think it would be one step closer to world peace if everybody did this.
I think that's a great idea, Norman. What I want to know is, how do you implement this? How do you teach this and require it of people? What are your means?
Those are good questions,
methods?
Paul. Those are great questions. This starts in the schools.
Okay.
This starts in kindergarten, preschool, whatever. All the workplaces will get their mandatory training. It'll be like, for example, here in British Columbia, we have WorkSafe BC, and there's mandatory things that workplaces need to do. Stuff like that I would implement into policy change. Stuff like that, like, you need to, day one training is like, this is how you use our software, this is your login, this is how we speak, we say corner, we say behind, and stuff like that. So it would be, it would be from the top and bottom speak kind of thing, like, institutionalized, policy-wise, and then socially as well. It would be like little things like, I don't know, you're at let's make this American, you're at an NBA game, and then the announcer says, that's halftime, remember to say corner and behind. See you in 10 minutes or whatever. Like it doesn't need to be superimposed, like shoved down your throat, but it would be like propaganda. Just you'd hear it everywhere, but not question it.
Okay. So
but this is for the betterment of everybody.
There's like a stark contrast arising, Norman, between my methods and your methods of being king.
Tell me more.
So your kingdom is very democratic, and mine is just straight to the authoritarianism. There's absolutely
I never said this is democratic change. This is for the good. I am the benevolent autocrat.
The good dictator. So
I know. So that's my quick and dirty change as king. I think it's something easy to implement. Definitely way more paperwork that you would think. I think. For a sudden implementation, but I think it would be one of those changes that would just kind of be like, oh, this is annoying, but would be taken up, and within, I would say, a year or two, I think everyone would not even be questioning it anymore,
Yeah. So some of these, like, for example, you're carrying something over somebody's head. Is that right? When you say over?
Oh, yeah, pragmatic things, like, it doesn't need to be in the kitchen, like, I'm grabbing a pot or a pan or whatever spices over your head, and I'm just saying, hey, over you, or whatever, I'm opening the cooler under your knees, I'm like, hey, just under. Other things would be like corner sharp, that's a very common one, like you're turning a corner of a knife. Crossing hot, like you're turning around with a hot pan. Those are that kind of things, and, the day-to-day would mostly be behind and corner. But I think those kind of things would seep into other pragmatic things. Like, for example, like even when I'm working, when I'm cooking at home, I still say like crossing hot and knife or sharp. Gotcha. Because when I'm cooking, I'm working, even if it's at home. So I think those kind of things would like just naturally just seep into people, and it would be good. It'd be a good change, I think.
And so, at like the grassroots level, I mean, at your office, you could be like corner when you go to that corner, and then Hopefully it catches on. And they're like, wow. Yeah,
because it's good like public practice, like just saying it even just in crowded spaces. Like you're in a little bit of a rush, so you're like trying to squeeze through people in like a crowd. So you just say, oh, hey, behind. It's similarly to excuse me, but also like it's giving that direction as well. It's like, oh, when someone says excuse me, especially in a crowded place, you might not know where they're coming from. But if you say behind, oh, someone's coming behind me, maybe they're in a rush. Like maybe you're being polite about it, maybe you're being rude about it, but at least you're being like, hey, I am behind you. You know what's happening.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think it's a good idea, Norman.
That would be my change, Paul.
Yeah, I think pretty easy to implement. So at the schools, and then so in the workplace, how do you enforce that? Just policies, institutional.
It would just be it's just like every country, state, province, etc. Like they all have workplace standards. Like you need to have a fire extinguisher, you need to have emergency exits, and part of your onboarding or your training is learning or just reminding or teaching. If this is week 1, you're teaching. If it's year 1, you're reminding all current and new employees is remember to use these words when walking around the workplace or anything like that.
Is there any punishment for not using those words?
The punishment? Well, that's a good call. I think it would have to be fines. I don't if when you're trying to implement a simple change like this and you go too hard, people will resist it even harder. They're like, why are you forcing me to blah, blah, blah. So I think it would just have to be fines. And I think it would have to be towards workplaces and stuff and not individuals. Because if you do individuals, people will go on social media and then I got civil unrest and I don't need to deal with no civil unrest. Just because I want people to say behind. So I think it would be more the auditors, the workplace safety inspectors, they'll just be listening for that kind of stuff. And maybe we'd up that for the first year or two, those kind of audits or inspections, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I don't think I would go after the individual. I think that would be overkill and counterproductive. And really, it would be the workplace. And because your boss will be like, shit, we got fined. They need to double down on making sure that happens. And so your managers, supervisors, whatever, owners will make sure that happens in the workplace and of course in schools. And those are the two places we spend most of our lives, in workplace and school. So if you can get it down there, I believe it'll seep into everyday life and in public life. So yeah. That's how I would implement it, Paul. That's a great question.
Cool. Well, it kind of segues into what I would do this week if I were king of the world. It's a lot more authoritarian and dictatorial than that.
Go on.
Yeah, so political polarization, right? It began in the US, but that shit's getting everywhere and it's getting out of control. So
did political polarization begin in the U.S. or since time immemorial that there was politics?
Yeah, it's
very American-centric attitude. Everything was made, invented, and started in the United States of America.
The modern branding of it.
Sure. Okay.
Anyway, I don't fucking know. I'm just making shit up. But yeah, it's out of control. It's got to stop. And who better to stop it than me, Norman? Your friendly neighborhood dictator. So, if you remember from previous episodes, us talking about the poop duty and the emperor, gonna kind of continue off of that. So, a new civic duty will be created, much like poop duty, which was sort of like jury duty, but not. So, a new civic duty will be created, much like poop duty from previous episode, much like jury duty, except not like it at all. A council of 1,000 randomly selected Americans will have to drop everything to fly to the Capitol to deliberate over the question, what is too polarized? Once they've defined an answer to that, the council will then be trained as officers of the reasonable and sent to the states to identify violators who believe in polarized bullshit and try to push it on other people. And ironically, though, there's going to be a really big problem trying to identify what polarized is, because in a group of 1,000 Americans, there's bound to be a lot that believe in some fucking bullshit. So I came up with a solution for that, which is we'll have a subcommittee of the world's best stand-up comedians to proceed over the sessions and determine which assholes need to be kicked out of the council straight up.
Okay, all right. So before you go on, what is the change? That sounded like a process, but what is the change?
What is the change? What do you mean?
Yes, like what is the implementation? Is it the 1,000 persons council, or what are you implementing?
Well, yeah. So basically, those 1,000 people, right? They figure out what's too polarized, and then we send them out to the states, and they're like a kind of officer, and they just basically look for people that have bullshit opinions that are too fucking polarized, and there will be punishments. But yeah, I'll kind of I'll get.
So it's a 1,000-person council for finding bullshit opinion.
Yes. And then they become.
Can you give me an example of an opinion that's bullshit?
No, because that's the point. They have to determine that. You have to take 1,000 people so that there's a big enough sample size to determine what reasonably can be considered by a large amount of people to be bullshit.
Okay, and when you say this, is this finding random individuals on the street? Is this finding politicians, public figures? Who are they? I guess judging.
Yeah, so it's going to be quasi-democratic. So they are random people. They're just
okay. So random people, and you just you just give them a survey and you say, "Give me your opinion."
Well, they have to like meet. It's like Congress, you know. They like come together and have big old fucking UN Congress type meetings where they're like, all right, we're going to talk about like alt left opinions and, you know, alt liberal, whatever you want to call it, ultra left, ultra right opinions, and go through and find like, where's the line for what is too fucking polarized and is just ultimately toxic to society. So they identify that line where that is, and then there will be punishment.
I just want to jump in here and say this kind of sounds like what is already done in totalitarian dictatorship. Is you're finding what's going out of line, eliminating it by a democratic council of selected people, and then making sure everyone is within the lines.
Well, yeah. But the council itself is selected quasi-democratically. It's not like in an actual...
And what is the limitations to this council? Can they go after you?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. And what happens if they find you too polarizing?
Then I'm fucked. That's it. Well, so here's the punishment then. I'll get right into it. So, again, the comedians will proceed over the sessions. If there are people who believe that things aren't polarized because they're polarized, then the comedians will kick those assholes out and they're no longer part of the council. They will still have a special role, though, that I'll talk about in a minute. But to speak about the punishment, first-time offenders who are speaking polarized bullshit, they'll just get 1 month of poop duty for the emperor, which, if you remember, is actually really dangerous, Norman, because you can actually go to the gulags if the emperor barks at you once, Norman. So it's quite dangerous. The second,
I like your world building. Paul. All your ideas they're not one-offs. It's all a series of interconnected ideas. I like the way you approach our whole idea.
By the end, it's going to be too complicated to keep track of.
I think we're going to need somebody to record a flowchart of all your ideas and how they affect one another.
It's true. There needs to be then another subcommittee just to keep track of what the fuck I'm saying.
So many subcommittees. The most bureaucratic dictatorship in the world.
That's
the point of being a dictator, a king, if you will, is to have ultimate authority and make decisions. And you're just a figurehead who just has a bunch of bureaucrats fighting for minuscule positions, posts, and committees to have the most little influence possible. You divide and conquer your nation.
It's true. Well, that's kind of part of the satire, right? It's like when I was saying about the unnecessary acronyms. That's a satire, right?
Throwback to episode 1. Loved it.
Yeah.
That was an amazing idea.
Yeah, yeah. And this is kind of similar, right? Like you're satiring the fact that there's all these unnecessary bureaucracies and unnecessary red tape and paperwork and this, that, and the other by making like 10 times as much of that shit and just making it more and more complex and ridiculous. So that's kind of what I'm going for, is Norman, is making this as ridiculous as possible. So, Norman, I want to talk about second-time offenders punishment.
Second time, okay. All right, second-time offenders.
Yeah, so they finished poop duty.
Repeat offenders.
Yeah, repeat offender. Exactly. They survived poop duty. They didn't go to the gulags. Now what? They come back into society, and again, they try to push their bullshit on other people. This time, it's 10 years work in the gulags, guaranteed. No chance of getting out of that. What is too polarized? Again, the council decides that. 1,000 people minus, quote, the assholes. And the assholes determined by the comedians. And yeah, Norman, that's about how it goes. What do you think, Norman?
What do I think? I love your world building ideas. I love your convoluted, weird way of being a dictator.
It's pretty much
maintaining an iron fist through confusion, red tape. You're like, we're making change. You just need to go through the 712 subcommittees to make it to me to make a final say.
Yeah.
And that's why, of course, the polarization committee can definitely judge you, but it'll take decades for it to actually reach you. And then when that piece of paper lands on your desk, you just throw it in the recycling. You're like, noted. Yeah. Also, all of you, the puppy.
Right. Go pick up poop. Yeah. So I think, ironically, some of it could work, but it's a bit insane. Anyway, I ran into another problem though, Norman, which is that unfortunately, right, because these officers of the reasonable would probably be like, they're kind, like normal people, so they're kind, they haven't just got that iron fist in them. So
right. So your polarization committee will make people less extreme and therefore more kind.
Well, no, it's not that. It's that they won't want to punish people for just having opinions about stuff. So, because they don't think like me, like they're kind. So they probably want people to go to the gulags. So, Norman, I created another subcommittee to ensure that they do their job. And this subcommittee will be made up of the first 100 people who are too polarized, either the ones that are kicked out, the assholes that are kicked out by the comedians, or people who are out in the society being punished for being assholes or for being polarized. I mean, I'm using that as a synonym now, but yeah, the first 100 very polarized people will be selected to be on this subcommittee to audit the people who are, from this council. The ideal actually would be that you collect 50 people who are from the ultra right and 50 from the ultra left, and they essentially make sure that the officers are punishing either, the one that's opposite them. So if there's an extremist conservative, the alt-left people, or the alt-liberal, whatever you want to call it, will ensure that the officers punish them. And to ensure that the opposite happens, the alt-right first 50 polarized people will be selected to make sure the officers punish the extremely left or liberal people. Yeah. So
that sounds fun, Paul. Do you want to hear a change from a listener?
oh yeah.
Okay, great. So before we started recording 10 minutes before. I put a shout out on Twitter. Follow us at If I Were King Pod on Twitter and on Instagram, If I Were King Pod, and you might be able to get your voice, your opinion on the pod.
Nice.
Anyways, so Nikki also has her own podcast. It's called let me find it. It's called the Nikki Talks podcast. So thanks for giving your suggestion on Twitter. So she goes into some very serious stuff, like the status of class and money, struggling with personal issues. But really, she ends off on, which is the most important note. What I think is a great idea if we were dictators is more free anything. So I think this is a great thing as a dictator, as a king. Autocrat is more free stuff.
Okay. Is there specific?
People love free stuff. Oh no, that's it. But Paul, I'll tell you how I interpret this. This is a way of control, Paul. We give more free stuff. Little things that you're like, wow, like you can just say, but like, hey, you don't need to pay your water bill, or how anybody in BC would say it, the hydro bill. But, I think more free anything would be great, Paul. How do you interpret this?
Yeah, I think it's a good bait and switch, Norman. You give people free stuff and then you have expectations.
I guess you could also see that as digging a hole that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
Giving too much free things, and then you're like, wow, I can't afford to do this.
You're like, here's free utilities for the month. Okay, now we need you to like go, I don't know, go join a council to go be officers of the reasonable.
I've seen this like in real world where like governments subsidize fuel, or they subsidize like wheat prices or something, and then all of a sudden like the government is just like running out of money and they need to they just can't afford to subsidize something anymore. And then one day they say, hey, we're not subsidizing this, and then all of a sudden gas prices go up like triple, or bread or is also tripled or whatever overnight, and people lose their fucking shit.
Is that what happened in fucking France recently, or no?
I don't know. I kind of ignore any French news because they are, they're better than us. So I let those snobs alone. French people, don't at us.
Norman, one day, if we're super popular, we're going to get some French hate. You're like, that's fine.
That's fine.
Right on. Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I like free stuff. I think that the US certainly doesn't give out enough free stuff. Well, they do, but they give it to the businesses. They don't give it to the people, at the very least, most of the time.
We'll be back right after this. Paul, what are you bringing today for Cultural Corner?
Today, Norman, I want you to guess what another word means. The word.
Another word?
Yeah. You remember like Nimrod?
Oh, okay. All right, like a synonym? Oh, guess the word. I love this game. Guess the word. All right, let's go.
Yeah, guess what it means. Guess what, how it'd be used, stuff like that. So,
all right.
The word today is crepuscular.
Perposcular.
No, sorry. Crepuscular.
Perposcular.
No, crepuscular.
What do you say? I'm gonna perposcular. I just need to. I'm not gonna Google the meaning. Just perpendicular. How do you spell this word, man?
I'm gonna spell it for you because you're not hearing it. Yeah. It's with a C. C-R.
So P.
No.
C.
C-R-E-P-U-S-C-U-L-A-R. You got that? Crepuscular?
No. Crepuscular.
No. Let me text it to you. Okay, there you go.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Oh, crepuscular.
Oh, crepuscular. Crepuscular.
Yeah.
You're not enunciating, bro. Yeah,
I am. It's just it's mic issues or something. I don't know.
Okay, crepuscular. All right.
Yeah.
All right. What does that mean? Wow. I have no idea. Crepuscular. Crepuscular. Wow. This is. I don't have a clue to start. So uscular, like vascular. All right. So this is something to do. Oh, is this coming out of your class, your studies? So something to do with the flow of something. Crepuscular. I don't know what the prefix cre means, or okay, so I'm just gonna guess it has something to do with some sort of movement of liquid or air or something, or some sort of system where movement is involved. That's where I'm gonna leave. And then the cre, is this something to do with like the crust of the Earth or something? And like Earth movement over long periods of time, or like the movement of certain like whatever like certain like plateaus or something like that. Like it doesn't need to be like the Earth's crust, but like things on the Earth crust. Am I at all on the right track, Paul?
Not really. It's better than it could be, though.
That's what I was thinking. It sounds kind of like the movement of something to do with like earthly bodies, like plateau movement over time.
You're so fucking close with that. You're very close with earthly bodies. Oh my God, is it like when you said earthly bodies?
Oh, is this something to do with satellites?
Well,
is that going
not mechanical satellites?
Oh, what about like moons and stuff?
Like the Earth is like a moon in a sense.
Yes. Okay. Crepuscular. Is it like the effect of gravity on like the Earth's crust over time and like geomagnetic kind of stuff?
No, not quite.
Well, you know what, Paul? That's what I was gonna say, and now I feel like now you just gotta tell me.
Okay. Yeah. So the real meaning, Norman, is, let me get you. Since you asked last time about like my source for definition, I got one. Fucking Cambridge Dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
Of animals, it puts in parentheses, of animals. Active or appearing at the time of day just before the sun goes down or just after the sun rises when the light is not bright.
Oh, that is a cool word, Paul. This is a cool word. I like it a lot. Crepuscular. So it's like that twilight time animal kind of activity.
Yes.
Like animals who are only active during like twilight times.
Yeah, exactly.
That is, I love this word, Paul. I love it. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, they sleep twice a day like fucking kings, Norman. And that's what my reaction to the definition was, is holy fuck, these kings. Actually, they only sleep once a day. But it's either they are awake at dusk or at dawn. I don't think they're awake at both. Maybe there are, but I looked at it a bit further. It's from the Latin crepusculum, meaning twilight.
Mm-hmm.
And there are matutinal and vespertine animals, so morning and night, dusk animals, respectively. And yeah, you got some good, they had some silly example sentences once again. They said, you know how some animals are nocturnal and some are diurnal, but what about animals like deer that are active during dawn and dusk? These animals are crepuscular. That was their example sentence. I
don't believe deers are crepuscular. What? I've seen them.
That doesn't sound right.
I live in a very deer-heavy area, and I see them all the time during the day, and I can tell you the drivers who almost die every day by hitting a deer during the day. I don't think that this. I think this. First of all, I think the definition, great example, but also I think deer is wrong because deer are active during the day. They're like nibbling on people's yard. Yeah, so. Maybe a certain type of deer or something is like that. Like, I don't know.
I guess
like a small deer, like in the Andes Mountains or something in like Chile.
Right. Yeah, I
definitely not the European deer that are like here in BC or whatever.
Are the deer in the North America, are they European?
Oh, they're invasive. Yeah, deer are not. Like deer here in like North America. I can't speak for all of North America, but I'm gonna correct me if I'm wrong. You know our email is, but like for they are very invasive. They're not like there were no deer here before. They're brought by Europeans for hunting. That's it.
No
They
shit.
devastated a lot of places. Like for example, the archipelago of Hawaii. Like the deer just devastated a lot of natural food sources, berries, other things that grew, and it was just like local diet was just destroyed because like the deer just would eat everything because they're foragers, right? Like they just eat anything low to the ground. So yeah, no, they're super invasive. So deer are not like horses. Like horses at some point were in North America and then naturally got extinct, and then Europeans brought horses back.
Yeah.
But yeah, the yeah, colonialization bad. So yes, but anyways, crepuscular, cool word.
Yeah, so
I wish to be a crepuscular person and sleep twice a day like a king.
like a fucking king.
So if I were King Paul, I would be crepuscular. So Paul, how did this come up? How did this come up to you in your life? Is this something? This you always find random things like this. Tell me about it. How'd this come up?
This I wanted to do another word one because I thought that was pretty fun with Nimrod.
Okay.
So I googled like weird words or some shit. Found crepuscular. Or rarely used words.
I love it. I'm gonna drop this around. People are gonna think I'm so smart. I'll be like, well, don't you know? Don't you know?
You're like 100% of Normans are crepuscular animals. That's why I came to work late today.
This word is bomb, dude. This word is bomb.
Yeah. It's got applications.
Paul, do you know what else is bomb? Fireworks. And you know what's coming up? Halloween. Do you guys in the States, or I don't know if in the States, but in Albuquerque, do you guys do fireworks on Halloween? Is that a traditional thing?
No.
That is so weird to me. Do you know how weird that is to me?
Dude,
I want to ask you how weird it is to you hearing in Vancouver, Halloween and fireworks are synonymous. There is no Halloween without fireworks. Is that weird to you?
That's really strange.
Yeah, no, like this has been my life growing up here, dude. Like I learned like, I don't know, a few years ago that this is a unique thing to like the West Coast. Specifically Vancouver and maybe some other adjacent West Coast cities. I can't speak for them, but for Vancouver, it's like a specifically Vancouver thing because I've had friends who've come here from East Coast, like Toronto or something like that, and they're like, we don't do this anywhere else. And I like, for me, Halloween and fire, like that's like the best part of Halloween is the fireworks. I'm like, yeah, cool, dress up, whatever. But the fireworks are like, it's just you know, as soon as the sun starts setting, you hear so that's what I'm bringing for Culture Corner is that a Vancouver tradition, which is weird because Vancouver doesn't really have any traditions. It's fairly young city by city standards, and also like not a very like interesting city. Come at me, other locals, I dare you. I will fight you on this. But I thought one of the most unique things about Vancouver is the fireworks on Halloween. Like growing up, it was so much fun. Like every year in October, just a bunch, like October 1, a bunch of like temporary stores pop up. There's these whatever vacant businesses that are vacant all year, and then every October without fail, the fireworks stores start popping up left, right, and center throughout the city. And you go there and you buy your cheap fireworks for like a few bucks, or like you want to go, if you got the money to throw down, you can buy like $100 fireworks that are like super dope.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, you go out with your friends, and then you gotta watch out because some people have illegal fireworks like M80s. Do you know what an M80 is?
No.
It's a quarter stick of dynamite. Do you know what a Roman candle is?
No, I forget.
Yeah, very very similar, but it shoots basically an M80-esque thing into the air, and it makes a bam.
Yeah.
So yeah, fireworks, like it's fun. It's very fun. But sometimes you have to watch out for the people shooting M80s at people. or in the direction of shooting at someone point blank. That's pretty dumb. But people would shoot it in the area around you. So you always had to watch out. Like, are there any little shitheads on this block? So you're always listening, looking at fireworks, and you're like, and because the M80s made quite a distinct, like a really strong, like a really strong bang that you can like feel in your stomach kind of thing. Because it was just like it's a small explosive.
Yeah.
But in recent years, so on November 1st, 2020, so 2 years ago now, Vancouver did the step of banning fireworks. We had a unique law where fireworks are banned in BC. I'm not sure about the rest of Canada, but in BC they're banned. But we had a exception for Halloween. So this is why it's a thing, or it was a thing, is that there was an exception for Halloween. I don't know how this happened in the first place. I'm happy it was. But anyways, in 2020, on November 1, day after Halloween, the city announces these are illegal. You can't do these unless you have a permit. I think that was before like you needed a permit for like doing it on property or something. But obviously nobody fucking cared before. So last year was the first year without fireworks legally in Vancouver. I wasn't here. I was dying in Prince Rupert in the middle of nowhere, doing a job, right? But I'm very excited to see this year how it goes. So the reasons behind this is because the ban is that you might have assumed it did cause havoc, especially in hospitals from people getting burns, property damage from fire, and the city was like, I don't know why we've tolerated this for like so many decades, but we're not doing it anymore.
I was gonna say that was like my first reaction is like, does the government just let you buy all this shit?
It just was, man. I don't understand. It just was.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things that developed, like, and it just was. But yeah, so now I'm interested to see how it looks like. I think there are like organized proper fireworks happening around the municipalities around Greater Vancouver and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see what's up with that. But what I'm interested, especially in my neighborhood, I live on the east side. So traditionally, back in the 90s, the neighborhood I live in, Champlain, like southeast Vancouver, in the 90s it was like straight up like gang territory. Not anymore, but so in the 90s when I was growing up, it was like kids were like, you need to come in after dark. All those gang kind of stuff have moved to Surrey, which is a different city nearby. So it's a fine neighborhood now, but so that's the kind of people who grew up here, and like, rebellious people live here. So in our neighborhood, we always had dope ass fireworks, and hence the being shot at with Roman candles, kind of growing up vibes. But no, so I'm really interested to see this year how it's surviving. How are fireworks? Are people applying for more permits to actually do it? It seems like a hassle to do. Generally, there's quite a lot of police in our area. Because of the history. So we'll see if they're patrolling more and stuff. But yeah, Paul, what do you think about that for a cute little hyper-local cultural corner?
I think it's pretty interesting. I've never, ever heard of that. It's kind of like 4th of July-y in the sense of, like, there's a lot of illegal fireworks being shot off on 4th of July here. And especially here because it's the desert and everything is dry, so it's easy to start a fire and burn down like an entire forest and shit. But there's, like you're saying, this Halloween exception, but it's kind of like the freedom exception, where it's like, this is illegal, but today on Patriot Day, this shit's allowed. That's kind of the feel that I get about it, because nobody's ever getting in trouble with the cops for that. even though there's lots of people doing it illegally, and you could easily just go find them, make some money off of it. But yeah,
my understanding is like you can just go to states and buy fireworks.
It depends. It depends. Not really. Most states, I think it's illegal. But we have a loophole, which is that the Native Americans, they have their own laws, right? They have sovereignty. So they can just sell a bunch of illegal shit on their own property and then put up like really big tents, big white tents, and sell a bunch of illegal fireworks to people.
Sounds good. Capitalism, baby. Capitalism.
Yeah. They make a fuckload of money off of that. But yeah. So how do people get illegal fireworks in Vancouver?
Well, like I said, they weren't illegal for that day before. Like, and there are a few fireworks shops that like I assume you need to show up with a permit now to buy it.
Yeah.
Like, cause it used to just be everywhere, and I actually haven't seen any fireworks shops around this year. So I guess I'm already seeing this change. But I know there are, because I've read in like the news that there are a few shops around. But yeah, like still to me, it just ain't Halloween without fireworks, Paul.
Yeah. I really hope that there are enough shops and stuff, because that sounds pretty fucking cool. I wish we did that. That would be pretty cool. Especially it makes like Halloween more like options for adults to like chill and watch some fireworks and stuff like that. Yeah, if you don't get invited to Halloween parties like me, or do much on Halloween ever. So yeah, Norman, I like it.
I try to keep my cultural corner a little bit more abroad and more interesting, but I thought this was a quirky thing in Vancouver that it really is kind of a unique thing. It seems like it may be dead. Paul, while we're in our break, I want to tell you something. I was washing the dishes just before this, and I thought of an excellent idea for us. And now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I may have forgotten it. Oh shit!